welcome to the Stanley Street Social Podcast, presented by the TAC, new presenting partner Lucas, as part of their road campaign. The road belongs to us all, obviously. First of all, congratulations on being selected for the Tour de France. Something that is massive. Like you can tell people when you meet them now, I've ridden the Tour de France. I'm a pro cyclist. I've ridden the Tour de France. And then also I imagine Bruce and Kaz back at home in Ararat are pretty excited. Who're bouncing off the walls.
Yeah. Well, touch wood. I haven't ridden it yet, but it's I guess the tour is the tour, isn't it? Like you spend sit up nights in Ararat with the family watching it. All those things you associate with the tour, like the sounds of crowds in the background, Phil Leggett, Paul Sherwin, staying up late with mum and dad watching the tour, even before I was cycling. So, it's pretty ingrained. So to be riding it's pretty special.
Does it have like this? Yeah, to be starting. Yeah. You're there.
Yeah.
You got 1 week to go.
Yeah, exactly.
You might not know this because you haven't actually been there yet, but like you, I don't know, as a junior, you go to like those, you go to Italian races and whatnot, you go to French races and whatnot, then you go to L'Avenir and Worlds, and you're like, oh, this is a level up from the rest of it. It'll be interesting to see if it feels like a bigger event, a bigger deal, because it is in the scheme of things. Like you talk to punters around here, like you said, that the general sports fan, they actually watch the race. They're actually staying up and then they just log off for the rest of the cycling season. So it'll be interesting to see how it actually feels as an athlete to be riding the Tour de France.
Yeah. I reckon maybe potentially like COVID dies it down a little bit. Obviously I don't know, but I'm assuming that it has some, maybe takes a little bit of the feel away, but in terms of just the build up and like my feeling leading into the race is probably something I've never had before. Like it does feel different, like already, like just the Tour de France is just, and to be honest, I didn't really think it would, like leading into the Giro and stuff. I had the same sort of like, it's the Giro, it's pretty special feeling and whatnot. And it's like big races like that, you always have like a little bit more, you're probably like in training that you're like, it's in your back of your mind a little bit more predominantly, like, but heading into the tour for some, it is a little bit more of a buzz, like people back in Oz. I think it's because people back in Oz recognize the tour a lot more than any other race in the world. Like a lot more. Like,
do you think about like, people watching me on TV? Like this actually matters to people.
Yeah. Oh, no, it doesn't. Like, I guess the biggest thing for me is your family and your mates, probably. Your friends and family are like, they're a lot more invested, and they sort of are very aware of what the tour is and what it entails. So I think for me, that's the bit that maybe creates a little bit more buzz around it leading in.
What was different in the preparation wise, or was it just your mentality?
Oh, nothing really. I guess it's the same as what you're always trying to get better, and I guess this year I've done a lot more riding as a GC rider, and I've only done one day race, which was Liège. So all the other 1 week races have just been GC and GC races. So that's probably the biggest difference, is the race programs maybe changed a bit, but apart from that, not much. Just keep training.
When do they tell you? Like when did you know? Well, first of all, that it's on the cards, and two, like I'm racing the Tour de France.
I guess I knew pretty early. Like last year, probably in the plan, like you have a plan for the year, like what, like most of the season is, I'd say, based around the Grand Tours. So the team will normally make you aware of which Grand Tour they plan on taking you to, and that's done quite early, like in October or so, November, year before. But then actually, getting finalised in the team. I guess you're not really finalised until the team's announced, really. Obviously, they'll tell you that you're in and there's no stress and whatnot, but like anything can happen. And I think you've also got to prove your spot a little bit. Just because they've planned it back in October doesn't mean that if you can rock up at all the races leading in and not do any good and still get picked.
Put the feet
you can't
up.
be hoop group. You can't be hoop group at Swiss and then they'd be like, yeah, we'll take you.
Oh, so you've been running top 10s pretty much all year. So it has been going well. Swiss, you obviously had a little health issue. That was a week ago now. How is the stomach?
Yeah, it knocked me for 6. 9 of us went down in the team. It was
Different food?
No, it was a virus of some sort. I don't know. Like whatever it was death warmed up. It was it was something else. But lucky it was only a 24-hour thing. So like I turned around pretty quick. And pretty much the Swiss squad is our whole tour squad. So it was a bit unfortunate to happen, but it was probably good that it happened there. And not later in the race or at the tour. So it was grim, but it was good timing, I think.
If you got to the tour, would have you been able to get through the stage? If it was a flat stage, would you made it through?
I've thought about this so much because, like, as I was laying there, I don't know. I definitely would have tried. Like, I definitely would have, but I don't want to think about it. I actually don't think I would have made it. I couldn't get out of bed. I spent like 20 seconds out of bed and I was like, I need to get back.
Are you in a hotel as well?
Oh, yeah. We're in this Hotel Alex. There we go.
It's
Hotel Alex is the name of it. It was hot. There was no aircon. And it was just your classic, like, race hotel. And it had its moments. It was warm as too.
Yeah. What? They couldn't ship you home?
Well, I couldn't travel.
You couldn't get on there.
I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't move.
And what you and half the team are just buckled in bed in this race hotel.
Yeah. It was pretty grim.
Yeah. Oh, that's good though. We're back on the horse. In the lead up. Your perform, like, just looking back on this year so far, like, it seems like it's from the outside, it looks like it's all going well. Top 10s here and there, GC performances, like you said, in these 1 week races. Are you happy with how it's gone from starting with the Australian summer?
Yeah, I am. I think if you, I'd never run top 10 in a World Tour stage race ever. So to consistently run top 10, it's nice. I think I've shown that I can consistently be up there with, and every race has sort of been different opponents and different like competitors. And I've still been up there. So like across for me personally, I'm like, yeah, like it gives me a lot of confidence. But you always obviously top 10's nice, but it's a top 10. It's not a win. It's not a groundbreaking result. So I think for me, it's a good sign. Like I'm happy with it, but you always want a little bit more.
Do you feel now like when you're climbing with Carapaz and Roglic and that tier of athlete, like do you feel normal? Does it feel like I deserve to be here? I'm at that level?
I guess you're sort of just originally probably not. Nah, like I'd say Pyrenees was a bit of a shock. I was lucky. The team always had a lot of faith that I could climb with those guys and whatnot. But I guess for me personally, it was to actually think you can do it and actually do it are two completely different things. And I didn't really know if I thought I could yet. Like I was like, I wanted to believe I could, but yeah, like I think just climbing with those guys, they're so good that it's pretty surreal. First off, I guess, well, not surreal, but just a bit intimidating is probably the right word. But then I guess after a while, you sort of just you just get used to it. And at the end of the day, it's your job to be there. So you sort of you want to be there, but also you need to be there. So I guess it's nice to be there, but you always want more, I guess.
Do any of them have like big swagger? Like, yeah, I'm a big dog climber. I'm a big dog climber. Like, look out, I'm here. Or they're all just scrawny little boys like yourself.
No, no one's really. They're all pretty. Not much swagger going along. But to be honest, some of those boys, they don't really need to show off any swagger, because when they go, it's that's enough swagger, eh? Like,
yeah,
when you see Podgika and Rogic light it up, it's enough. I think people are impressed with enough.
Yeah, like when
they're all pretty good.
When Carapaz went at Swiss, attacked the group. Like, how far off are you there? What's the difference?
Well, with guys like Carapaz and like Podgika and Rogic, is I think one thing they've got that makes a big difference on the climb is that, like that 20-second, 30-second kick, that attack that they do. Their attacks are so fast that it's like, that sort of makes a difference. And it makes, a lot of the time, if you watch them, like, they go and then they sort of sit up and, watch each other. And then everyone from behind climbs back onto them. And then they go again. And every time everyone's climbing back on, they're sort of sitting up, spinning the legs out, looking at each other, waiting for the next bloke to make a move. Everyone else behind's hauling ass, trying to just get back up to them. They get back up to them, and then they just go again. I'd say that's what makes them so strong, is that their attacks are so brutal that it puts everyone in a position where, sometimes people are having to work a lot harder to get to the same spot, but for a longer time. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but they a lot of the time they narrate the climb. They get to the bottom of the climb and they climb the way they want to climb it. A lot of climbs in there, but it's they dictate the way you're going to go from point A to point B, and it puts everyone on the back foot a bit. And the reason they can do that is because they're so good. Like, it's not not everyone can do that, and it's exciting to watch, because it's, from a spectator's point of view, there's some big haymakers getting thrown out there. It's good racing.
I think it was at Paris-Nice that you were on the offense. You're on the attack. There was a couple.
Romney, maybe.
Romney. One of them. One of them.
Yeah.
You're on the offense.
Yeah.
Attacking the group of the GC favorites. It's like daunting once you get there. Like, so you've got like a 10-20 second gap. You're just like, oh.
Yeah.
What if, like, I'm going full noise here? What's going on behind me?
I think it's I don't know. I think after a while you just get into the throw of it a bit, and, like, what it's like at the end of races. You're in the zone a bit. You're not thinking too much. There's not a whole bunch of blood going upstairs. So it's you're sort of riding off feeling a bit. So, like, to be honest, I don't really think about it too much. I just want to try and race the best climb I can, or climb or race. And that's all that really matters. There's not too much thinking going on. Obviously, you're not going to attack, or some guys do, but obviously you're not going to attack at really silly moments. But when you do go, you sort of just knuckle down, I guess, and just give it your best, and sort of find your pace, which is sometimes nicer than actually sitting in the bunch and, like, following wheels on climbs. Sometimes it's not necessarily harder in terms of effort, but mentally it's a bit harder because you're going someone else's pace the whole time. So, yeah.
do you get big energy because you know you're on TV? You know the camera's staring at you. You're like, "Hello, all at home. Hello, Ararat. I'm here." And Carapaz is chasing me down.
No, I don't think it changes too much for me. But well,
if you're running along a running track and you don't see anyone for 5 kilometers, and then all of a sudden you see someone, it's like, oh, just give it a bit of a squirt. I've got to look like I'm going good.
Yeah.
Everyone's watching.
I guess that's an element. Like, I guess what's more important for me is actually being a part of the race. You know, like, and part of that is being on TV. Like being there and being a part of the race, not just being another number. Not another number, but like no one's another number in the peloton because everyone's got their roles and everyone does their job and whatnot. But I mean, like, sometimes it's nice to be like, I actually tried something there, or I actually tried to win that race and whatnot. And I think that's more of a motivation than getting on TV. But I guess getting on TV is also like showing the race. So if you're making the race,
you're in the race.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but also that's just like important for your overall career. I think that's where I went wrong. I just became another number. I spent 3 years just rolling around Italy.
Well, I think I've probably been a little bit like, no one in the World Tour peloton in my mind is like, no one's another number. Everyone's, you know, doing their job, doing their role, and everyone's so good that it's just a matter of you know, being a part of the race a little bit. And it's nice to be at the front end, the pointy end of the race. I think anyone would say that.
Yeah. No, you don't want to be that. You want to be dragging your body up into the team bus last every single day.
Yeah, last race.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, unless your role is
to work for the first.
Because then I think a lot of the time on TV that a lot of people miss is the run-ins to these climbs is nearly the hardest bit. It's a full gas effort to get into the bottom of the climb in front group. And if you don't have guys who are helping you be in the front on those climbs at the start, there's no way you stand a chance. You can't correct it when you saw like an example of like, even like Roger get Paris-Nice when he crashed on the last stage, and he was like 10 meters off the back of the peloton going into the last climb. That's the best guy in the world. He was dominating in the race. He was way better than anyone else there. And he couldn't get back on. He'd done a full gas effort beforehand, but it's like one of those things is like that job into the bottom of the climb is so important for guys like myself, because otherwise I've got no chance. Or maybe you can hang on, but you've just spent so many bickies. So yeah, I think that's super important. Like sometimes when you watch, like if you've done a stage and you watch the replay and you're like, oh geez, that looks like just lovely bike riding in the Swiss countryside heading into the bottom of the climb. But when you're in the Pella, it's so hectic that it's so hard. Like just in the wheels, these big boys, when they wind it up, just in the wheels, it's like you just put the head down, just trying to get into it. So yeah.
Is there tactical nous as well, or is it just you just need horsepower? You just need Heppy and Durbo just going wild on the front.
There's definitely like some guys are tactically like got it aced tactically, and some people got the HP, some people got both. Like I think it depends what you are. Like if you watch, it comes down to HP. Like a lot of the time, if you can hold your position on the road. A lot of times you see teams now, they'll pick their spot and they'll hold it, and there'll be the big guys on the front. And they'll just be holding that spot, hold that part of the road, even if it's not the quickest or the best way to get to the, like, it's quite swirly and you're on the outside of corners and stuff like that. But they'll just hold it because it's the most efficient way for the climber just to be in the one position, not worrying about everyone else. But it's only sustainable you can't keep doing that. You can't do that for 30, 40K leading into a climb. You have to pick your time right and stuff. And that's probably where the wits come in. Like you You got to time it right, that you're not
Mm.
holding the road 40K out and then 2K out, you're all at the back. It's not ideal.
Is there a moment of relief when you hit that climb and you're like, all right, now it's kind of back in your control. It's out of this wild roaring peloton going into this probably small corner onto a categorized climb. It's like it's my turn now. It's just my legs talking.
Yeah, I guess there's always a settling down period on the climb. It's quite funny how it works. It's so hectic, and then you hit the climb, and it's like this. The dust just settles, and everyone's just like, "Oh, we're here now."
Yeah.
And then like you're sort of just like, "Oh, what was that all for?" Like, kind of just all arrived here, but I guess there is a bit on the climb, but at the same time, like most of the time, the bottom of the climbs is so hard. Like normally the bottom's the hardest bit because everyone's ripping it. But yeah, it is nice when you finally hit a climb rather than on those flat roads.
Yeah. But for you now as a rider, like, do you feel comfortable? Because I also imagine like it's a daunting thing ripping down these normally downhill sections into a climb, 70 odd clicks an hour, pro peloton with like rock stars everywhere. You now feel comfortable doing that, being that person?
Yeah, I'd say like my positioning and everything, and I think that was one thing that I had to change quite a bit this year was my positioning. I'm normally quite relaxed, just sitting down the back, and not all the time, but I have my moments where I just prefer to be at the back and sort of out of the mess of it all. And I think Paris-Nice was probably the first race where I really had to step that up. I had to be in position every time, even though it was probably one of the best Paris-Nices ever, where it was sunshine every day and no wind. So like, I guess I changed that, and after time, you feel more comfortable, and also I think you feel like you can do it more efficiently, which is more important. Where beforehand I was probably to be at the front, I was, in the wind pushing a lot of things, but I think it just comes after time. Like in the pro pelo, also that's another thing. Like I'm 4th year pro now, so like you sort of just get better and more accustomed to it over time.
Yeah,
that's probably
4th year pro.
You're an old dog.
You're an old dog.
Yeah,
team leader. So as we head into the Tour de France, the biggest race of the year, what's your role?
Yeah, or I'll be GC, riding GC. We've got quite a we've got a team with like 2 sort of goals. We've got Esteban, Simon, and Bling as our sort of like Bling will obviously go for stages, like those hard stages, which there's a lot of this year, I think. I don't know if you've looked at the first stage of the tour.
Or the first 3 almost.
Yeah, it's that first day is going to be something else. Just shark tooth profile.
Yeah.
And 100. It's going to So
stress peloton first day of the tour.
Yeah. I think I'm going to be thrown in the deep end pretty quick. Could have done a cheeky little 6-7K prologue or something. Start her off.
Yeah. Just nice to settle the nerves a bit.
Yeah. Get a team in yellow. But no, so I'll go in. It's my first tour for a start. So I can't have too high expectations, even though guys now they go in their first tours at 21 years of age and win them.
Yeah,
it's for me personally, I'm going there to try and ride GC, but also experience, and I want to also be part of a successful tour team. That's like a main motivation. I want to be nice to come out of the tour and it be a successful one. So I think, like I was talking to someone the other day, and they were saying how like the Tour de France is, if everything's going well, it's the best race in the world to be a part of. But if nothing's going well, it's the worst race in the world to be a part of.
Yeah, it's the one that everyone cares about. It's the one that all the sponsors care about. It's the one that everyone's viewing. It's the race. It's the event.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be an experience.
Yeah, GC at the Grand Tour and at the Tour de France. That's huge.
Yeah.
Because have you had that pressure? Have you had that opportunity before to look at a GC opportunity?
What do you mean, like in a Grand Tour?
Yeah. You've done the Giro and the World Tour.
No, I've just done the Giro. I've only done one Grand Tour. Finished one. I've started two, finished one. Last year you
got pulled out because of COVID.
Yeah. And then the year before I did the Giro with Simon.
Yeah.
So in a completely different role, just full support role. Which is I guess not heading into Grand Tour. No, I haven't really had that. Last year also heading into the Giro, we had Simon who'd won Torino, was going really well. Then obviously unfortunately got COVID. So I think no, I haven't really had this role before in a Grand Tour. But I've been doing it all year at these, like they're sort of like the pre dress rehearsal heading in.
The I guess thinking about like the Olympics and the Olympic Village, and there some reports coming out about like people flying in 5 days before, sitting in a hotel for 5 days, doing their event and shipping straight out, and being in Melbourne in Australia. We're back in lockdown, got a handful of cases. What's life over there like, and do you think it's going to affect the Tour de France and your overall experience there? Like, is it going to be? Last year was like, how is this going to work? No one in the world understood how the Tour de France is going to work. The race director had it on like day 3. The world was trying to sort it out. This year, from all reports, Europe looks like it's kind of got its race together, countries together.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's been a couple races where teams have gone home, but there's never been a widespread. And racing's, it's not that far off normal. We all take extra precautions now, obviously, like we did last year. And I reckon those precautions will stay around post-COVID also, if there is a post-COVID. But like it's like I think they're going to become the norm a little bit more, because there's obviously, apart from what happened at Swiss, which is just super unlucky. I think there's a lot less sickness, a lot less spread of sickness getting around. So like I think we're just adapting, and we're just, races are now, I feel like everyone's getting used to, like last year it felt like an effort all doing all those things, like you weren't used to it, so you sort of like races and whatnot and all the extra precautions they needed to take felt like they're going at it like a bit more of an effort, where now it's just like the norm. So it feels like it's just normal, like a normal season. Every race you go to, like everything you're doing, you've been doing now for a year, so it's sort of, you're in the rhythm, in the routine of doing it. Wearing a mask is normal. Like it's not, it's weirder when you got a mask off.
Yeah. So like you're in Girona right now, you roll out onto the street, do you wear a mask?
Yeah.
And that's just indefinite?
There's a bit of chatter. There is a bit of, I think they're going to remove the mask outside, or I'm not sure. Haven't really been paying much attention, but I think they are planning on getting rid of masks. I think the UK, I think they've got rid of masks now outside.
They're almost up to 50% vaccinated.
Yeah, like they're so like I think countries will follow that. Like I think they're sort of the first. They're a bit ahead of everyone, but I think they're not planning on having that for always. I don't think. I don't really know my Spanish politics. I don't really know too much, so I assume they'll get rid of it at some point. But I'm more talking specifically about the race environment.
Yeah, it's nice not getting sick. I haven't been sick in I don't know how long now. You know,
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time in my bedroom,
Yeah.
and my / office, but but like you don't get sick. There's no colds going around.
Well, you're also not seeing anyone.
Well, that's the reason I'm not getting sick.
Yeah. Well, you're right. There's a lot of other things that have you benefiting from all these new hygiene. I think like some of these hygiene things, like you'll actually want to just keep doing anyway. Like wearing a mask is definitely not one of them. I don't think. Like I think you'll be pretty keen to walk outside without a mask on. But like hygiene gel and stuff like that, I feel like a lot more people now will have that on hand. You know, where like we sort of always did as athletes, because you know you're traveling and whatnot, and you're pretty pinned all the time, so your immune system's not on point always. So you sort of, I think as athletes you always did it, but I think the general population now, a lot more people will have like hygiene, like all restaurants and everything for a start. Like I doubt that they're going to take them all the way once it's gone. They're just going to leave them there because what's the harm?
Yeah. Have you thought about that now you are riding the Tour de France, that you are going to become like a cycling idol for younger kids?
I don't know if that's the case.
I'm telling you, you're riding the Tour de France. You're on TV. You're riding for Mitchell Scott. People actually know who you are.
Yeah, I to be honest, I haven't thought of
season 4. Not season 4. Season 4 of the podcast. Season 4 of your career as well.
No, I don't think I've really. I think maybe I've got a bit more to do to become an idol, but I think I'm definitely aware that riding the Tour de France is like a big step. And like I was saying before, like just because my friends and family are like a lot more invested in, like everyone knows what the Tour is. Everyone's it's one of the biggest sporting events in the world. And to be a part of that and to be participating in it is, I definitely feel like it's a really, really awesome opportunity. And also like there's maybe a little bit more meaning behind it than other races.
You're going to have a town parade when you come back to Ararat over summer.
I think you have to win the Tour de France to get a parade. I don't think just participating is enough.
Well, Ararat as a town has a rich cycling history. Has anyone ridden the Tour de France?
No one has ridden the Tour de France, yeah.
There you go.
No. We do have a rich cycling history though. But no one's ridden the Tour. So I'll be the first.
Yeah.
The first. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to checking in sometime. We were just discussing before we got on air what the Stanley Street Social actually does for the Tour de France. But we are looking forward to following your progression. One last question from a sponsorship point of view. We, like I mentioned off the top, new sponsor, the TAC, as part of the Road Belongs to Us All campaign, as part of cyclists need to do their bit, car drivers need to do their bit, pedestrians need to do their bit. Is there something that you take special caution of, or something you're aware of every time you are riding all around the world, noting that you race in different countries on a week by week basis? You spend your summer in Oz. Is there something that comes to mind that's, I know, you always take note of, or you always do, or something that's in your process of just being cautious and being aware of your risk on the road?
Yeah, it's I think there's little habits for sure that I've picked up along the way to stay safe. I'm always I think you've always got to be aware that potentially the person behind you, I always wear a red light, like on the back of my bike. Garmin produces really sweet radar you put on the back of your bike.
In the daytime too?
Yep, always. Yeah, always. It's quite a strong light. So it's just good. I think you always just got to assume the worst. Assume that the person behind you can't see us. So you got to do everything you can to see a if you got the option of wearing a fluoro vest or something, I think something like that is like super important. And yeah, I guess it's always easier for me because I can always ride. It's my job, so I can ride during the day when it's bright, and that some people obviously after work and that have to ride quite late. So red lights and front lights become even more important.
Yeah,
I think there's a number of things you can do. Always just if you're riding in a group, always just having someone at the back aware if this car's coming or not. Yeah, I guess from a rider's point of view, there's always an awareness there that you're riding on a road that's open. I guess I don't really have many tips. I'd have to go out riding and pick up on some of the habits I've picked up over the years. But
the light thing's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Buy yourself good lights.
You can buy lights from Bunnings if you want.
No, but buy good lights.
Yeah,
it's a good thing to have good lights. They don't cost that much money, and you're always going to use them.
No. I think you're right. A good light is super important.
Is there anything that annoys you that cyclists or car drivers do? One thing you could eliminate.
One thing I could eliminate.
Yeah. That cyclists do and that car drivers do.
Oh. Well, the thing is I don't know. That's a hard question because in
Australia. So when you're hacking around Melbourne.
I guess from a cyclist point of view, I think sometimes we're sort of a little bit I don't know. I think everyone's different. I think sometimes drivers need to be in less of a rush, maybe. And cyclists probably need to just have a little bit more awareness. Not everyone, just some, the minorities. I think the one thing, like the one way I always thought about it was like, if you're in a car and you're driving along and someone in another car really annoys you or does something that really annoys you, you get angry. Doesn't mean you go and barge into that car or like, do something silly to that car. Just doesn't mean you hate all car drivers now,
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that cyclists got to like, just because a cyclist has done something that's really annoyed you, doesn't mean you need to put their life at risk. And also doesn't mean you need to now hate all cyclists and treat every other cyclist accordingly.
There's something about the access, isn't there? It's like, that car's just driving like 60 k's an hour. It's going to turn left or right here or there. But if there's another guy in the bunch or you're driving, there's a cyclist on the side of the road that does something stupid. You you have this permission to give them a spray.
Yeah. So, I guess, but like I said, not everyone does certain things. It's quite individual, I guess. But it's hard. It depends where you're riding. Also, if you're in the city, if you're in the country. I remember Dave Sanders used to always say that like city kids get hurt, country kids die, because the country roads they're quite fast. In the city, obviously everyone's going a bit slower, but there's a lot more traffic. I think everyone's just got to be careful, look after one another. There we go. The wisdom.
One big community.
One big,
Just look after each other.
Just look after each other.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard.
Every cyclist has got a life, got family, got friends. There's no need to put anyone's life at risk because you're driving, because you're a little bit late for coffee with a mate or something. I'm sure there's more serious reasons, but I think we've just got to, look after each other.
Well, you look after yourself at the Tour de France, Lucas.
I'll try. I'll tell you what, there's a bit of barging going on there. So
is there a few hairy descents?
I assume so. I haven't really looked. These Bretagne roads, you know what these Bretagne roads are like? Like you've done to
left,
Bretagne.
right, left, right.
Yeah.
Left,
so
right.
It's like up,
left,
right, bomb into a left, up into a climb. So yeah, I'm assuming it'll be
stress.
It'll be stress and hairy. There'll be a couple put the seatbelt on and hang on a bit.
Yeah.
But that's why everyone loves the tour, I guess. Apart from probably the riders themselves.
Yeah.
They're doing those hairy moments. Looks good on TV. But
well, we were talking about this. We did an episode on Monday with Max and Campbell, just about like cycling 101. We went back to basics. One of the things we talked about is like you you guys are not just good climbers. You don't just go uphill and that's it. You got to get down the hill too, which has been, I think, it feels like it's becoming more prominent. Guys like attacking on the descent, trying to expose that weakness of some GC
it's a thing now,
guys.
isn't it? People do it.
Where I had to look at the other day when Movistar and Astana just went whack on the downhill to try and expose Richie.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but
they attacked the downhill.
When G crashed.
Yeah. Do you feel confident? Do you feel like you're like if someone went on the downhill, you were like, yep, no, I've got this. No stress. Obviously not no stress, but like I've got this.
I don't know. I think I haven't been dropped on a D yet. In terms of like, but I've also never had someone trying to put me under pressure on a D. So we descended pretty fast at Swiss actually. A couple of times. Swiss has got some pretty fast Ds. I don't know. It's one of those things. Is like you have to be able to descend as a GC rider, as anyone. Like you hear stories of like Cavendish and guys like this in the tour, and they're like, on the verge of maybe getting time cut or whatnot, and their descending is just off chops. Like they're taking time out of the front guys on these Ds, just like twos up.
Yeah.
There's some pretty wild descenders out there and pretty talented bike handling guys. Like and they always come out on TV. You always see them. Like it's not hard to think about when you think of descending, who you think about. And I think as a GC rider, you got to be able to hang on. You don't necessarily got to be able to drop guys, but you got to be able to hang on. Otherwise, you can find yourself, and it's sort of like it encourages people, doesn't it? Like if they think you can't hang on, it encourages people to be aggressive on descents.
I feel so sorry for Richie. Like ever since he had a couple of unlucky crashes in the tour.
Yeah, exactly.
He just gets attacked all the time.
Yeah,
on the rivet.
Yeah, and he's really not a bad descender. I think it's just like this. Whether they do it because of that or not, who knows? But it is a thing now. I don't know if they single out Richie or it's just generally they just maybe on the off chance that someone gets popped on a D, why not? There's not much energy lost. It's obviously annoying sometimes when you just prefer to ride.
Yeah, like mentally, like you've just been busting yourself up this climb. You get to the top. Oh, beautiful. Top of the Cat 1. And then some teams are ripping it down the other side. You're like, just give me a chop out for like 5 minutes while I'm trying to put your rain jacket on. You haven't had anything to eat. You got no food left. Yeah. And some teams just driving it down the other side.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know if you watched Basque Country this year. Basque Country is a sweet race. It's like a good race to watch. And they went over this climb and Astana just went like full tilt over the top. And it was like a bunch of 30 or 40 and 10 guys came out the bottom and that was the race. And Podgka and McNulty and all those were like caught behind in the second group. They're only like 10 seconds behind, but then the front group just drilled it and that made the race. And it was like, I think Gaudu ended up winning the stage. But yeah, it's making sometimes it can make the race. Depends what decent. It has to be pretty technical and whatnot. But guys who win races from descents are pretty impressive. Like when they go down these hills and they can actually put time into guys and then come out the other side and have enough time to. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, because you know how good those other guys are. You're not like they're not some punter that learned to ride a bike 2 weeks ago that's struggling to go around corners.
They're putting time into the world's best.
Yeah,
I think some people are more gifted at it than others, but I think definitely the standard is descending is quite high. So guys who are stepping away from that, pretty impressive.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time, Lucas. Congratulations on your Tour de France start. We look forward to following you over the next 3 weeks. And the annual parade back into Ararat over summer.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
No worries.